the newest man in the Bills' offensive line room, signing on the dotted line recently, one-year contract. It is one Forrest Lamp joining us on the phone. And Forrest, how you doing? Here is your unofficial welcome to Buffalo. I'm sure you'll get a more formal one from the team itself if you haven't already, but glad you're on the roster and here in Buffalo. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me.
So I have to start here, Forrest, because, just looking into your background a little bit, Venice, Florida is where you played your high school ball. How does a guy from Venice, Florida end up at Western Kentucky?
So it's funny. Everybody always asks me that. Originally I wanted to stay in Florida, and I had some offers from similar schools like WKU. I had FAU, FIU, had UCF and USF really, really late. And I had Miami for a little bit, and then I had somebody commit. And so they didn't have a spot for me anymore. And long story short is the head coach there was Willie Taggart, and he went to Manatee High School, which is one of probably Venice's biggest rival. And, he kept calling me and just telling me, you need to come up here. And he was from Manatee. He went to Western Kentucky. He was an All-American. His jersey's retired there. And he just told me, he's like, I understand why you want to stay in Florida and yada, yada, but just come visit. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, at least you can say you tried for me. And like I said, the short story is I went up there and fell in love with it. It was brand new. They just went to D1 from D1AA, and everything was brand new. It was beautiful, and Coach Taggart was a good coach, and he talked me into it, and it was the best decision of my life. I'm really happy I went there.
So you came out of Western Kentucky, played for the Hilltoppers for, had a nice career there. You came out, you were considered one of the top interior offensive linemen coming out. You've played in San Diego and L.A. for 5 years. Give us a little insight into your experience there with the Chargers.
It was a great experience. I'm extremely thankful for Tom and Coach Lynn at the time for drafting me and, changing my life. It's every football player's dream to play in the NFL, so I can't be any more thankful to them. And it was a great time. We started out in San Diego, and we were there from April until camp started. And then once camp started, we moved up to L.A., and they made the transition as easy as possible. Obviously, it's not easy moving an entire football team, but it was great. I made some great friends, and, I was injured quite a bit my first 3 years, and my last year was first year finally healthy, but I loved it. It was amazing, and I was glad I was able to experience it.
How'd you navigate those first couple of years, Forrest? Because, a new guy in the door, you want to prove yourself to your teammates and your coaches, and when injuries get in the way, that can be frustrating. So how did you kind of stay mentally tough through those setbacks?
Yeah, it is extremely frustrating, and you ask any athlete that's been hurt, it's definitely plays with your mind a little bit. And for me, it was just relying on my faith. I'm a Christian and relied on my faith a lot, and my fiance, Tasha, and then probably one of the more important things is my teammates. Like you said, I was a rookie there when I first got hurt, and we had only been in camp for less than a week. And some of the older guys who are, kind of some of the more famous guys like Antonio Gates and Melvin Ingram and, some of the more higher profile players, Phillip. And, as soon as I got hurt, those guys all came up to me and told me, hey, we've been, Phillip's had an ACL, Melvin's had an ACL. I'm sure Antonio's been hurt somewhere along the line, but they just all came up to me and, encouraged me and told me, they've been hurt before, they've been there, and, you're able to come back. It takes some time, but you'll be fine. And, for my teammates who had only known me for maybe a month or two, didn't really know me personally yet, to take the time out of their day to come and make sure I was okay, especially the higher, profile guys, meant a lot to me because they didn't have to do that,
Yeah, and what did it mean to you personally as well now in this last year, 2020, to play every single solitary offensive snap for the Offensive Rookie of the Year? That had to feel really good when it was all said and done. I know the season didn't end like you wanted it to. You guys didn't make the playoffs, that kind of thing. But to personally put a season like that together in front of a quarterback who did that, it had to mean a lot to you personally.
It did, yeah. It meant a ton. Herbie's a great guy, and same as Phillip Rivers. I've been lucky to play under, great quarterbacks, and you want to do your best for those guys. So when you're out on the field, you're going to try to do your best. But like you said, for me personally, it was a great feeling to know that I was able to come back after 3 years. of being injured, having 3 surgeries in 3 years. And, the doubt does start to come in at times, and it's frustrating to say the least. So for me, it was reassuring and meant a lot to me.
Talking to Bills offensive lineman Forrest Lamp on the line. And Forrest, speaking of quarterbacks, you're going to be playing for a pretty darn good one here in Josh Allen. I know he likes reaching out to teammates, especially new ones. Have you heard from him yet via text or phone call yet?
I have not heard from him yet, but I was literally just in Buffalo yesterday signing. So,
gotcha.
Good stuff.
But what are your thoughts about him? Because I know he and Herbert share a lot of similar physical traits. I don't know if it's going to look all that different with Josh Allen throwing behind you.
No, I know for sure. Yeah, they're very similar. They're both great quarterbacks. We played the Bills last year, and Josh played fairly well. And obviously, like you said, we didn't make the playoffs, so we were able to watch some of the playoff games. And he's a great quarterback. I look forward to blocking for him.
What was that?
I was going to say, I know Steve was interested in this. When you guys came in here last year to play the Bills, we're curious, what was kind of the general scouting report on them? What were you hearing from your coaches that week as you got ready for that game? We're just kind of curious to kind of see it from the other side.
Oh, you guys are making me dig into.
Well, you don't have to give away any state secrets, but in general, what was the general?
No, there was no secrets at all. I'm just saying, it's funny when you're playing the season and you're scouting a team, as soon as you're done with that game, you move on to the next one.
That's you flush it, right?
You're making me dig into some files in my brain back here. But overall, obviously, they're a great team. They have a ton of offensive weapons, and I wasn't in the defensive meeting rooms, but from the offensive standpoint, their defense was great. And, they have great players like, Oliver and some of the other defensive linemen who have been there for a really, really long time and played a long time. And they're a good team. And then offensively, obviously, it doesn't much need to be said about that. They, like I said, I wasn't in the defensive meeting room, but, we would always have a team meeting. And Coach Lynn would kind of go over, just the overall aspects of the offense and the defense. And, he wasn't playing around with our defense when he told them their offense was extraordinary. They have a ton of weapons with Diggs and Josh, and they're hard to stop.
Give us a little insight as to when the conversation goes, when it started with the Bills, who you spoke to on the phone. I know your agent probably took care of a lot of the conversation, but when did you first have personal contact with anybody in the Bills organization, and how'd that conversation go?
Yeah, so your agent mainly handles all of that leading up to free agency. And then after free agency, we had 3 or 4 teams that we were going back and forth between. And the Bills just seemed like the right fit. And they're a winning team, a playoff team. And, that's every player's dream is to, win a Super Bowl. Every guy can say that he wants to do, the receiver can say, I want to catch 1,000, balls and this and that. But at the end of the day, every player wants to win a Super Bowl. And I think the Bills are really close to doing that. So the first time I ever had contact with any of the coaches is, once we kind of got the deal done. That's kind of how it goes. Your agent mainly handles everything up until, you kind of agree on whatnot. And then, as soon as we agreed on everything, Coach McDermott called me, the O-line coach, Coach Johnson called me. Everybody, dabble. So I've kind of talked to everybody offensively other than the defense and special teams coaches.
Right.
And then, Forrest, I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know already playing in this league, but just coming in here to compete for a starting role, with some entrenched guys in some of the guard positions already. I'm just curious as to your outlook on that. Maybe it's no different from any other competition you've ever been a part of at any level of football, but you're coming to a new landing spot, I guess, so it's a little bit different from your prior experience in the NFL where you had become accustomed to your surroundings with the Chargers. Now it's a new venue. How do you kind of look at that whole thing, jumping into that competition to try to get a starting job?
Well, like you said, you don't look at it any differently. It's, it's the same from Pop Warner to high school to college to, my last couple of years with the Chargers. Every training camp is a competition. And like you said, I know there's some guys there that have started a lot of games and are kind of entrenched in, the offense, and they've been here a lot longer than me. But I'm just looking to help out any way I can, whether, Coach Johnson's going to have to make that final decision on who starts, who doesn't start. But, whether I'm a starter or a backup, whatever the case may be, like I said, I'm just here to help and, try to get us to our overall goal, which is to win a Super Bowl.
You went through this last season like all of us did, knowing and living through what was a really strange year. You played all these games with no fans in the stands. You've been through some really weird crowd experiences because you did play for the San Diego Chargers in L.A., where they were playing in the soccer stadium, and the crowds were predominantly away crowds. You played in this season in 2020 when there was no fans anywhere until later in the season. What are your thoughts about getting back into this season where you got a chance to play not only in front of full stadiums, but in a place like Buffalo, who's known for having a really passionate crowd?
I'm excited, to say the least. But, yeah, we have played in some weird situations, like you said, in California, playing at StubHub. It was small, and like you said, a lot of the ticket prices were extremely high, which, turned away a lot of our fans. And so there's predominantly away fans, which is, it stinks because you never feel like you have a home game. But the stadium itself is really cool. Not many times you get to play on in a soccer stadium, and the fans, they felt like they were really close to the field, like they were almost right on top of you. So, like I said, you can look at all the negatives, but there were some positives about playing there, and it was a neat experience. And then last year, playing with no fans, it was really weird because, each state was different. So, like, when we played Miami, they had some fans. When we played Kansas City, they had some fans. But other places where they had no fans, it was almost like you were at a practice. And we always joke around, we love the fans being there and whatnot. But on the offensive side of the ball, for away games, it was nice not having fans because we never had to worry about a silent cadence or code words or anything like that, because anytime Justin needed to change anything, we could always hear him because there was no fans there.
Right. Last one for me, Forrest. The Bills have never been part of the Hard Knocks series, and I know the Chargers and the Rams were part of it last year. What was it like to kind of have a camera crew virtually embedded with you guys at training camp? Was it noticeable every single day with all the access that they had, or did it just kind of become something that after a short period of time you just didn't notice anymore?
I've heard different things. We had Hard Knocks during COVID, so therefore they didn't have as much, from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, they didn't have as much access as they normally do. So it really wasn't that noticeable, to be honest with you. You could see them at practice and filming practices and things like that. But in the meeting rooms, they just set up a camera up in the, corner of the meeting room. We never really saw anybody in the hotel. So for us, it really wasn't that noticeable, but I've heard from other teammates that have been on, or other friends that have been on Hard Knocks with other teams, that it's usually a little bit more noticeable, but with COVID, they weren't able to do everything that they used to do.
Now, Forrest, one last thing for me. How do I purchase a Forrest lamp?
What's funny is when we first got on here and you're like, so I got to start with this. I thought that's what you were going to ask about. Everybody always busts.
We're going to let you get away.
Well, all you got to do is go to lampsplus.com and go ahead and search Forrest Lamp, or I think you can search Sequoia Lamp, and it'll come up. You can buy one right off their website.
Yeah, well, Sequoia is a very California-esque lamp. We're going to have to come up with some kind of buffalo lamp. We're going to have to figure out a design element for that and get in touch with your people at Lamps Plus for that to see what they can do for us, get a buffalo-style lamp for you this year.
No doubt. We do something every year, so I'm sure as long as everything goes as planned, we'll come out with something.
Good enough. Well, thanks, Forrest, for giving us some time today. We appreciate it. Congrats again, and we look forward to seeing you out there on the field later this year.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. You have a good one.